Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Press Box. Finally, huh, Kenny?
Yeah, it's great to be back. How about it?
Yeah, Kenny's telling me you better get the hell better, you asshole. I'm sick of you getting sick all the time. And I said I'll do my best. But tonight we got two guests. Josh Yoder's coming on because he played under Ray Hoppel, and Mifflin County baseball coach rocking his Lewistown T-shirt, Raymond Hoppel from Northern Cambria.
Yeah, this I'll tell you how old I am. When I was there, it was Spangler. So, I mean, the town has even changed names since I left. So, I mean, I will always refer to where I grew up as Spangler. I mean, I went to Northern Cambria High School, but I'm a Spangler boy through and through.
Well, I was telling Kenny they were freaking good in volleyball.
Oh, what the
About
head coach, the head coach,
4 or 5 state championships.
the head coach of those teams was a guy named Mike Hogan,
Yes.
who was actually my JV basketball coach. He started teaching when I was in, I want to say, ninth grade, and he had come from Penn State. He was a volleyball player at Penn State. I don't really know if he was a varsity player or if he was just a club player, but I mean, he could jump out. He could jump out of the gym back then, and he was a pretty intense guy. We didn't have a real strong basketball program back then, and he did everything he could to kind of bring that same mentality, and we improved a lot. He also took over the volleyball program about the same time, and like you said, you saw where he took them.
Yeah, I think it was his daughter. She was so good she didn't even have to hit the ball. It was just everybody. Everybody would shrink away.
He had three daughters. I want to say one ended up at Maryland. There was another one at St. Francis, and I want to say maybe UMBC or Mount St. Mary's or something like that. But they were all just phenomenal players.
Because I don't know if you know that, Ray. I actually covered 2 of their state championship wins for the Altoona
Really?
Mirror. For the Altoona Mirror, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Went down to Cumberland Valley. That's when I first saw Cumberland Valley High School, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
I was actually at that game, and then there was another year they played at Central York, and a friend of mine from back home, their daughter played on the team, and we went down and watched that day as well. Yeah, they were dominant for about a 4 or 5 year stretch.
Yeah, they treated me nice down there. I was down there, Kenny, covering volleyball, and it was Ray's school and my school made it, Bald Eagle area.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that was that. That was a good year.
Yeah.
That was a. I remember that. I think I went to the girls' game on that one.
You did. You don't remember me, do you? We've known each other for 23 years. You didn't remember I was at the game.
No.
Selective memory.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, hit a certain age and you just lose everything.
Before we get started with the baseball stuff, Ray, I've known you a long time. I just have to tell you this. Before we got on the air, Josh said you sucked as a manager.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
I don't know why he said that, because you were on a team that won a state title. Last year, you won the District 6 championship. Did you win Mid-Penn?
Yes.
And he said
we tied ourselves and Cedar Cliff. We're both 11-3 in the league last year, and we split the league. So there are times when they would have like a league playoff, but because the league season butted up against districts so close, they did not play that league playoff, and they're not playing it again this year for the same reason.
I mean, because I know, you're a buddy, and I just wanted to tell you what he said.
Yeah, I'm glad you're looking out for me, Brian.
Yeah, he said you couldn't even pick up a fungo bat and get a hit.
Yeah,
I mean, the fielding practice, you had to call John Bell.
I fly out a lot with fungos.
You had to call Bell to get fielding practice.
Yeah. I will say I can hit a fungo better than he can.
Yeah. Well, John was a wrestler.
Yeah.
Look at the big boy.
Yeah, he if we needed any coolers or garbage cans thrown in the dugout, he could certainly do that. I mean,
yes.
he was a beast.
So tonight, unfortunately, lost Altoona 3-1, but you opened up Capullas Field. What was that like?
Well, it's something that the families, the players, the community of people here in the county have been waiting for. I mean, excuse me. This it seemed like there was a lot of delays and a lot of things going on even before it was approved by the board back in October of 23. And even at that time when it was approved, there was talk of things being done by last October. And and I'm not going to get into the details of things, but I mean, there's been a lot of delays. Some are weather related, some are construction related. I mean, some are township related, and so I mean, everybody's sort of chomping at the bit to open these fields up and see the finished product. And I'm proud to be one of the two teams that have opened up on their field, albeit in a loss. But I mean, there's certainly a lot to be excited about with regards to the surfaces and the facilities that we've had. And anybody that is coached in Mifflin County, as we've traveled down the road over these years, whether it be in the Commonwealth and the Keystone, the Colonial, whatever division we're in, you see some of the facilities that some of these schools have, and it's hard not to be jealous. And so now it's nice to have some of those things in our backyard.
Do you think it's going to take some time? I mean, if correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the infield artificial?
Yes, it's just the infield.
Uh, is that going to take some time to get used to, or have you guys been practicing on it?
Well, I told Altoona's coach. I don't know if you know Turtle Smith. He's the head coach of Altoona.
Yeah, yeah.
Super nice guy. I've known him for probably 30 years. I told him that we had about a 20 to 30 minute head start on him as far as being on the field. We really haven't had a lot of time on it. We were able to get on it just a little bit on Saturday, and then we did have a practice on it yesterday. But there was definitely an adjustment. I think a lot of people feel like the turf is going to speed things up. On the contrary, I mean, we gave up 3 infield hits in the first inning today, and I think all of them would have been outs in grass and dirt. The ball definitely, especially now because the turf is pretty new, it sort of grabs that ball and slows it down. I think over time, as things wear a little bit, it will speed up. But tonight it did not play very fast at all.
Starting out the season playing at different venues for a home game, it's got to be nice to be finally at your home, and it's probably a lot better for the kids now knowing that where they're going to play and start to feel out the nuances of the new field and everything.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll hear somebody say whenever you're doing things like this that it's the price of progress. Well, I mean it's sure it's a price. There's a price, but at the same time, I can verify to you that we've probably practiced half as much as what we normally do just to this point. And some of it has been weather related. Some of it has been the sharing of fields. I mean, we've been practicing over at Lewistown Middle School, but lacrosse also practices there. So on days where they have games, we're kind of limited as to where we can go. The JV team has been playing at Armaugh, but even now that the Junior Babe Ruth season is starting, their practices are kind of limited as well. So, I mean, I'm pretty confident in saying that we have probably practiced half as much. And like I said, the weather has been an issue. We're also in an issue where the lacrosse teams are not permitted to practice in the middle school or the junior high gyms anymore. So on days where the weather is really bad, where we can't get outside at all, we've been sharing an auxiliary gym, and there's been 4 teams trying to share it. So it hasn't been optimal. We've been certainly doing our best. I do my best to not let us use that as an excuse, but I'm not going to lie. It's been an adjustment.
You're 4-3 right now. Not bad, not bad. What are some of the things that you've liked so far, and what are some of the things that you haven't liked?
I I think our pitching is going right now about as well as any team. I would put our pitching staff against any team in the state in any classification. Um, the overwhelming, I guess, trend in pitching over the last 20 years, and you guys have all been in sports long enough to know this, is that everybody needs to reach back and throw 100. Well, we don't have any of those guys, but we have gamers, we have strike throwers, and that's what we have, and there's nothing we can do to change that. I mean, I'm not going to have a kid that throws 80 this year and all of a sudden they're going to come back next year and throw 95. It just doesn't work that way. So we really work and teach them to pitch, and a lot of them have learned that coming up through before now. Some of them are getting a little bit more of an instruction of that now. You guys are aware that Brett Leister is the pitching coach for our varsity
Yes.
group,
Yes.
and I would trust him with any pitcher we have. I mean, he really works his magic with those guys. He calls a great game. I want to say, I haven't looked at the stats since the end of the game today, but I want to say our team ERA is around like 1.3. So, with us being 4-3 and a team ERA of 1.3, you probably don't need the lead in to where the next question goes as far as why are we 4-3?
Absolutely.
But it's certainly not a fault of our pitching, and for the most part our defense. I mean, we've had a couple of lapses defensively here and there, but our pitching has been really on top of things this early in the season.
Is it something you expected for the hitting to come around last?
Well, I've
no?
done this for a long time, and most of the time the hitting does take time. The pitching does seem to be ahead of things early in the game, early in the season. But I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I thought we would have turned a corner a little bit by now offensively. I think we're getting there. I saw some progress today. Altoona threw a kid by the name of Tanner Stroup, who is a West Virginia commit, throws about 88. And we put some pretty good cuts on him. And then they brought in another guy, Aaron Smearman, who is a UPJ commit. And we had some pretty good cuts on him as well. So, I mean, I felt like, I was disappointed in our offensive effort against State College on Monday, but I didn't feel quite that way today. And we didn't see – I don't think we saw better pitching one day versus the other. Both teams are very good.
Yeah.
But I definitely saw some differences today. I know our kids are a little frustrated. I know our team's frustrated. I'm sure our parents are frustrated too. But we're going to get there. I'm confident we're going to get there. We have 17 outstanding players, and they are all working hard. And sometimes, it stinks when you're not maybe playing as much as what you might like, or you might not be getting the opportunities that you might like. I tend to be a little bit of a loyalist at heart, just because of, we have a couple of guys on our team that are in their third year of starting, and if they struggle a little bit, I tend to err on the side of caution and give them the opportunity to get out, maybe a little more so than I might someone else. But unfortunately, spring baseball in high school is a very short season, and it's not very optimal to get into a slump whenever you have 20 games to play.
Yeah, I know a kid I've been impressed with is Aiden Nativo, and he pitched a good game today, I saw.
Well, no, he didn't. He didn't throw today. Logan Alexander pitched today.
Okay, see, I don't know how to read a box score. No, but he has been pretty decent. I mean, didn't he pitch a one-hitter on opening day?
Yeah, it ended up being a no-hitter. It was changed.
Oh, okay.
Off and booked to a no-hitter. No, he's been pretty dominant in his 3 starts. Now we brought him in in relief the other night, and it didn't quite go so well for him. But I mean, that's the nature of baseball, unfortunately. And I know that people get down on themselves when they give up a big hit, or give up the lead, or whatever it happens to be. But I mean, he's been really solid for us the last 2 years. And so, I mean, he's really learned how to pitch. His ball moves a lot, and it throws teams off. And he has certainly been about as consistent as he could be over the last 2 years. And he'll be a guy that we go to again here down the stretch.
I know. Yeah, and he's rocking the hair, man. The hair is cool.
Yeah, he would definitely need an oversized hat for that hair, and it's actually a lot shorter than it was over the summer. So
Yeah, I saw that.
He trimmed it up.
I know his dad, Mark.
Oh yeah, I figured you guys would. You guys are old wrestling buddies.
Yeah, wrestler buddy. So how do you approach that? Because I think to keep the kids up and not get down themselves, because I think the toughest thing in sports is to hit a baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I do. I think it's the toughest thing to do in sports is hit a baseball. How do you keep these kids up if they're like in a little mini slump?
Well, it's always been about communication, and so I mean, I do my best to try to talk to these guys each practice, whether it be while they're hitting or while they're fielding or just even in school. I mean, I don't think I cannot overstate the importance of being in the school on the day when the kids are there. It doesn't matter whether it's a game day or not. And I'm not trying to make any suggestions that coaches need to be in the school or that coaches that work in the school are better coaches. I'm not suggesting that at all. But what I am suggesting is that when you're in that building, you get a better pulse of your team. And there have been several situations this year where I have had to deal with, different things from different players that were completely unrelated to baseball. And I can't also express the gratitude, the fact that they are willing to come to me whenever they do have questions or if they do have, issues or problems, because yes, I'm a baseball coach, but I'm also a teacher and I'm also an adult in the room. And, sometimes they need that. And, I try to do what I can to be what I can be, but it's not easy. And then you go out to the field, and like I said before, we have 17 more than capable players, and you try to juggle, kids getting out of slumps and giving other kids opportunities, and giving guys different chances to pitch or pinch hit or pinch run or whatever it might be, and it's tough. I mean, there's kids I'm sure that feel like they're more deserving to play more than what they have, and they may very well be right. And it's just me. I mentioned before, I tend to be a little bit of a loyalist and allow the kids to work through their struggles a little bit. But there does come a point in time where you have to pull the plug, and that's never easy either. And right. So it ends up being a game of give and take a little bit. When, yes, you might be giving somebody an opportunity, but in order to do that, you're also taking one away from someone else. And so it's never easy to do that. But at the same time, it is our job to win baseball games as well. So, I mean, that's always been the toughest about coaching, and especially in a game like baseball or even softball, where it's not like you have free substitution. I mean, once you put a guy in or once you take a guy out, that's it.
When we talked at the Central Dolphin game, you said about this being one of your favorite teams. Just talk a little bit about the chemistry that your team has this year.
So it's last year's group was rather unique. A lot of those seniors I really hadn't coached a lot. Now this year's group I've coached a ton coming up through, and we're talking about starting from the time they were 6 years old. And so a lot of these kids have been a part of my life for a long time. And that's what's making this second go around a lot different for me. And, when I was at Lewistown back from, 97 up through 2011, my kids were little, and I really didn't know a lot of those. I didn't really know a lot of those families. I became close with the kids, but I really didn't know the families. Well, in this go around, I've become close with a lot of the families as well. And so it's a very tight knit group from a standpoint of, we've been kind of behind the eight ball practicing wise for a long time. And I told them the importance of staying together. And we're kind of at a point right now where, we've struggled to hit the last 3 or 4 games. And as a coach, I get the feeling that we're teetering just a little bit right now. We're frustrated, but what we have to do is to kind of maintain our composure. And this team can do that. I feel like that, you know, I feel like this team has the capability of having very good leadership. Um, our senior group, for the most part, is a smaller group. There's 7 kids, but a lot of them have played together for a long time. Um, the junior group is a bigger group, and it's a little more sporadic. Like they've kind of played in different places. So I don't want to say they aren't as tight knit. That's definitely not the word. But they're coming from different places. Like whereas the senior group, most of those kids played with me and on my team in the summer for a long time, and so they kind of know my expectations, and maybe they know where I'm coming from a little bit more. But the leadership, I think, in this group, number one, I think, is going to be tested here this week, and that's a good thing. I mean, you need to test your leadership, and number two, the whether or not we as a team can kind of fall in with that, regardless of struggling, is, in my opinion, going to make or break how we end the year. And I've always said that you have to be careful that you don't peak too soon. And there were a couple of instances over the years at Lewistown where I felt like, we were playing our best baseball in late April. And that's unfortunately not the best time to be playing it. And so I strongly believe that this team, their best baseball is still ahead of them. And that's what I really like about this group. I think they are on the cusp of really breaking things open.
And so, like, during the season, is it a feeling you have? How do you know when, like, you're like, okay, I gotta make some adjustments or shake things up? Is that a feel that you develop over time as a coach? Is it instinctive, or you're just like, okay, well, we got to change because we're playing bad?
It's definitely, there's definitely experience. I mean, I coach a lot differently now than I did in 1997. So, it's definitely an experience thing. Um, it's nice that the kids are pretty open with me. I mean, I can definitely gauge the pulse of them from that. And so that certainly makes things easier on me. Um, but it's definitely an experience factor. And sometimes you make the right moves, and sometimes, unfortunately, you don't. Um, I felt like there were times early this year where we would put the lineup a certain way, or we would leave a certain start a certain pitcher, and things were going well. The other night, I had it was a feeling I had where our starting pitcher, I felt like, was just kind of on the edge of being too tired to finish, and he was facing a kid who had hit the ball hard a couple of times, and so I made the decision then, and it backfired. And anybody that's coached any sport for any period of time knows that those kinds of things happen. And unfortunately, as a coach, you have to live with those decisions. They're never easy, and sometimes it's certainly not easy looking people in the eyes after the fact. And but you have to do the things that give you the reason, give them reason to trust you again. And sometimes it's a talk, sometimes it's a pat on the head, or a slap in the backside, but I think that just kind of comes with experience. And like I said, I mean, I feel like I'm a better coach now than I was 30 years ago. And, God forbid how long I continue to coach, I might be a better coach in 5 years than I am now, just from that experience. And so I've always wanted to have an open line of communication with my kids, because I feel like that's one of the ways that makes it easier for me to kind of have a pulse of the team.
Gotcha. Because like Josh was saying, you used to go, you don't get this kid out, you're walking home. There's no bus ride for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we would, if we were on the road or something like that, and we were stopping at McDonald's or Burger King on the way, if they went 0 for 3, they stayed on the bus, they didn't get to eat.
No, they only got one French fry.
Nah, they didn't even get that.
Oh, okay. Josh, do you got a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, since obviously last year you guys won the district title, your first year coaching with Mifflin County, do you think maybe that might get in their head a little bit? They're like maybe putting too much pressure on themselves to like get going?
Well, one of the conversations that we had back early in the season was that we weren't going to sneak up on anybody anymore. If I remember correctly, there was only one other time when we won the conference in baseball, and that was in 2016. And I don't believe I'm not sure we've ever had back-to-back winning seasons in our program since we went to the Mid-Penn. And so I think we were the year before we won the conference so 2015, I want to say maybe the team was 500 or just below. But I don't think they were winning. I may be wrong. Maybe, somebody can fact check that for me. I might be wrong, but it's even we're let's just say we're not very well respected in the Harrisburg area. And I've talked to other coaches about that. I've always said that I feel like we're second class citizens down there when we go down to those games. And it kind of, we won the league last year. And then when you read the previews, we're picked to finish 7th out of 8 teams in the league this year. Now, maybe I'm just, maybe I'm just, and maybe over time that'll happen and we'll slump. But I mean, that's not us. I mean, that's not the team we are. And so it's up to us and it's up to this group to try to take what happened last year and make that a part of our culture. And I'm sure there's some pressure to that. I mean, it definitely makes a difference. And I know I told them early in the year, my expectations don't change. It doesn't matter who's out on the field. It doesn't matter what opponent happens to be. My expectations don't change. And so I don't go out to that game unless I expect to win. And that needs to be their mentality each time as well. And sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, but the mentality has to be there from the go. But I agree with you, Josh. I think maybe there might be a little bit of weight of expectations just because from, maybe put on us a little bit last year. But what we have to understand is that last year's team is last year's team. This is this year's team. And, there were 12 outstanding players on that group last year that aren't with us this year. But we replaced them with 10 or 12 more outstanding kids that are on the team this year. And we have to develop that identity of this team and not last year.
Yeah, and it's like you got to ignore. I'm old and cranky now, so I can say this. You got to ignore those idiots at Penn Live because they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't.
Well, I have a particular buddy that works down there, and I say buddy sarcastically because anybody that happens to be listening to this podcast will probably know exactly who this individual might be. But so we were very fortunate to sweep Central Dauphin last year, and we were also very fortunate to sweep them this year. And the game we beat them last year, that was the first time I want to say we had beaten them in 6 years. And there's an individual that works in that general area that never has a lot of kind things to say about Mifflin County athletics. And so
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I think I
you
know
probably
too.
do.
Yeah,
I figured you guys probably do.
yeah.
But anyway, last year that particular online paper, there were 2 games that weren't covered in that paper over the course of the season, and both games were the games in which we beat Central Dauphin. So, so needless to say, look, the writing's on the wall, and so be it. I'm not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I tell my kids, do not back down from anyone, but there does come a time where you just kind of have to do your job and move on, and that's kind of how I feel about him. So
Yeah.
I will just let it at that. But
Well,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, it's, I tell our kids not to back down. And for sometimes, as much as I want to say and kind of, sort of a take that attitude to them, but I'm beyond that at this point.
No, Ray, I'm giving you the option if you want. This isn't Big Louie. This is our podcast, Kenny and I. If you want to, you can look in the camera and go, "Hey, you know who you are. Go F yourself."
Well, at the same time, I also have a reputation to uphold if there are any players watching this. And,
Yes.
And they know how I feel, and I will just let it at that.
And unfortunately, Kenny and I know this all too well as long as we've been doing it. There are some people who don't do it for the kids and the parents and the way it should be. They just want their
Right.
own they want their own byline and they want to hear their own damn voice.
Yeah, that's a fact. And so I wish that there were more people in it for the kids, and less of the me attitude. I've always felt that way, not just in this kind of stuff, but in anything. I mean, it's you don't really. I guess I've always read a quote that kind of is like, you do more for yourself by cheering for others, and I feel like that the players on our team, I really hope that I want to be their biggest fan. And so if they do well, whether it be on the field, off the field, whatever it might be, I want to be the first one there cheering for them, because that I mean, it's what they need. It's what's right. And I've always tried to do. I've always tried to kind of live by doing what's right, and it's not always easy. And especially if you want to do what's right, even when people aren't watching. And it's just something that I've tried to live by as long as I have, and I'm certainly not perfect, but I try.
Yeah, and I can honestly say this, not to toot our own horn. Kenny and I think he'll agree, it's never been about us. It's never
Right.
been about like when we started this, it's like, hey, well, let's get a podcast where we can get the local kids on, the coaches, and give them the attention they deserve.
And that's the kind of thing, that's what people want to hear. I mean, they want to talk to the kids. They want to hear the local stuff. I mean, for as many professional sports fans as we have around here, I mean, they don't want to listen, they don't want to listen to a podcast about the Steelers. They want to hear about, Mifflin County athletics or Juniata athletics or whatever it might be.
Now, Josh is different. It's about him.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
If you notice, I just have Brian. Kenny has Kenny V, and there's Joshua Yoder.
Yeah. He dabbles in writing too. So I mean, he's got both ends of the media covered here.
Yeah. Well, Kenny, didn't you write a baseball game yesterday?
Gosh, what was yesterday?
Oh wow,
He did
Kenny!
a Juniata EJ
Oh wow.
You're
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
mad,
okay.
buddy.
I am, man.
Track and
Everything's-
field.
I was track and field. Now that
Oh,
was that
I
was
thought you
Mon-
did.
that was Monday. I did
I,
East Juniata baseball. There you go.
yeah. See,
Yeah,
I
okay.
read Kenny.
Jeez. Oh. Okay.
Like the thing, where do you feel you are right now? And I know from all these years talking to coaches, it's important. even maybe more than wins and losses, is the development of the players. These ones that have come back and the new ones going through the season, what would you say right now about their development? Forget
Well,
record. Forget the record.
mhm. Well, one of the things that they've heard me say on many occasions is you want to try to get 1% better every day. And so, regardless of where we might be practicing, if we happen to be practicing in the auxiliary gym, we're going to try to work more on hitting. If we're outside in the ground and it's wet, maybe we'll get a chance to get on the turf and we can work on our fielding. But it is about development. And so, you're never the same team at the beginning of the year that you are at the end of the year. And usually it's the team and the coaching staff that develops their players the best are the ones that are left standing. Because, I will say this with utmost confidence. I coached at Lewistown when we played in that Central Penn League, and that Central Penn League was a gauntlet. Even though at that time there were only 4 classifications, and Lewistown was kind of, and there was even a time where there was only 3 and 2, but Lewistown, we were kind of solidly in that AAA sort of size, and we were playing against the Huntingtons and the Phillipsburgs of the world that were in our size, Bellefonte a lot, Somerset, and then the Quad A schools at that time would have been Altoona, Hollidaysburg, Central Mountain. I'm missing somebody. Du Bois, I think at that time was also Quad A. But this 6A Commonwealth is a firestorm. It really is.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I see is that, every single team we play on our schedule this year is going to be 6A except for like 2. And the 2 games that we don't, those 2 games are going to end up being non-league games. And so we are going into every game that we play where these schools are going to have a guy that can throw 85 to 90 miles an hour, and usually several. They're going to have kids that are going to be going to the Division I level. And I'll make a statement here because I absolutely feel like it's accurate. If you are a starting player on a 6A school in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth, you can play college baseball somewhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I'm not afraid to say that. There are no slouches. I mean, it used to be, there was a time where if you had a kid on your team, and I'll just speak of the Lewistown days, if we had a guy on our team that was throwing 85, let's say, we didn't even have to worry about batters 6 through 9 even getting a bat on the ball. That's not the case anymore. I mean, it is a true firestorm of teams, and it's tough. I mean, Mifflin County, we have that 500 rule for districts, and
yeah,
I'm telling you, it is brutal. Well,
and to add to your point,
go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to ask, and to add to your point, Coach, like what you said earlier about the hitting, like having a tough time getting the hitting going. It just again shows how good the pitching is of that conference. So it shouldn't be that too much of a surprise that hitting could be like tough for any team in any given night.
I mean, that's so when you look at the kids that we have faced this year, I mean, I don't know that we have faced one pitcher this year under 80 miles an hour. Not one. I mean, the kid from the lefty from Central Dauphin the other night was throwing 85. Tanner Straub tonight's 87, 88. The Walker boy from State College the other nights. Now I don't really know that he was throwing his full go, but I know he's capable of 88. The kid from Mechanicsburg, the Markovich kid from Mechanicsburg's about 86. Trying to think of who else we've played here. Central Dauphin. We haven't even seen Cedar Cliff or Cumberland Valley, and they have guys topping out in the upper 80s. And so, I mean, it is truly a difficult schedule, and it's a lot to ask of our kids. But I will say that they are more than prepared to play at this level, just based on the fact that our games have been close. I mean, we can compete with anybody we play with, but it's tough.
Yeah, Kenny and I are in the mid-30s right now.
Well,
right, Ken?
What
Look at Ken's avatar. Look how that ball, man, is breaking.
See, what I would do is
ball.
I would put you about 15 feet away from the batter, so it would simulate about 60.
I probably throw underhand right now. My overhand days are over.
Well, I can, believe it or not, I still do a somewhat decent job throwing overhand, but there were times 20 years ago where I would go live off the mound and throw the full arsenal of pitches. Those days are gone. But I can kind of get on top. I can throw from about 30 feet and still put enough velocity on it that I can challenge them. But those days are fading fast.
You and I talked about this before, but I want to refresh my mind and everybody else's. Besides the sex of the player, you have coached baseball and softball. What are the major differences in coaching them, or is there any?
You talking about the players or the game itself?
The game, the players, whatever.
Well, for anybody that is not familiar, first of all, softball is a much, much faster game. It is a small ball heavy game as well. And I thought that when I was, after coaching the baseball that I did for those years, I would be able to step into softball and be like, oh, well, this isn't too bad. Well, it's not. It's very different. And there was a little bit of a learning curve for me there, just kind of realizing, setting up your defense. And, softball has slap hitters, which baseball does not. There's the pitching is different. You don't really have to hold on the runners. And so the running game is a little bit different in softball as well. And of course the pitching, I feel pretty confident in coaching pitchers at the baseball level. I do not feel super confident in coaching pitchers at the softball level. I mean, there's certain things that I've kind of garnered over the years that I feel like I'm confident in understanding, but the finer points of windmill, I'm not quite there yet. But it is a very, very different, it's a different game. And so, there's times that I'll kind of lean on some things that I learned in softball for the baseball end of things. And then even vice versa, the other way, although my softball coaching days, at least they kind of ended whenever my daughter went off to college and played at Penn State. But still, I still unfortunately find myself, coaching softball from my chair, which isn't always to the liking of the people that sit around me. But it's different. The players are different. You kind of have to coach them just a little bit different sometimes. Both, they have there's certain things that work a little bit better in baseball than softball and vice versa. But they are different. And I've been very fortunate to work with some good people on both sides. We've been fortunate enough to have some success at both the baseball and the softball side. And so, I feel very blessed. I feel very honored to be a part of that. And, I've coached a long time, and, I've had my share of success, but it's not, it's the players and the people that have been around me that have been the biggest part of it.
Community. It always amazes me how the community rallies around our teams. Mm-hmm. And I want to get your opinion from your fans this year, your parents, the kids' parents on the team, and even at the school, McClay, Tisch, and Lepley, and the school is, they just support athletics around here so well. What are your thoughts on that? And if somebody does it, you can call them out.
Well, maybe we'll save that maybe for another podcast.
Yeah, you could go, no, that Lepley's a son of a bitch.
There's always, there's always lickspittles out there that take that sort of approach. But I'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
But anyway, the community support is different, and the media support is different too, because where I grew up at Northern Cambria, we actually had a newspaper there called the Barnesboro Star, but it was only run once a week, and so there was local sports there. But by the time you read the article, it had already been gone a week. So, but anyway, most of our high school sports were covered by the Tribune Democrat out in Johnstown.
Yeah.
And they only ever had usually about one high school beat writer that was around. And so you didn't see them all the time. And so from that aspect of things, the local sports coverage has always been better here. And the local people have taken a greater interest in their high school sports as opposed to Cambria County. And it's not that I don't want to say that one place has bigger fans than the other, but the coverage matters. And so whenever it's put in front of them all the time, it's hard not to be a fan.
Yeah. Now, the rest of the season, forget wins and losses. What do you want to see from your guys the rest of the year?
Okay, just real quick here, I'm just going to let you know that my laptop's got just a few minutes left. So if it cuts out, that's why. It's not that I dislike, even though I dislike all three of you. I'm just going to use the laptop excuse. But what I want to see from my guys is I want them to keep their composure. I want them to battle through adversity. That's what life's about. Life is all about adversity. And so, there's going to be times in your life where you struggle at your job, or you might struggle in school. Baseball has always been a microcosm of life to me. So if you can push aside the struggles and fight through the things that make it difficult, it's going to make life easier. And that little bit of success that they have, if they can get a little taste of that, I think that's going to go a long way. We have a big game tomorrow at Blair County Ballpark against Latrobe. And that is, they are an outstanding team, but so are we. And I feel like that game, if we can pull that game out tomorrow at 5:30, I think that's going to go a long way in setting the tone for the second half of the year.
And just playing in that environment is cool too. And
it is.
Speaking of up there, our good buddy Marlon Gross said, "Good luck with the curve invite. Let's turn it around tomorrow and Friday."
Absolutely, Marlon's another one of those fans. He invited me onto a podcast tonight. I apologize, Marlon. I couldn't get on there because I was coming on this one. But
Marlon.
But yeah, it was. But yeah, he's certainly he's some of our players' biggest fans. And Marlon, I'll let you know that I hear them talking about you in the dugout. So you're having a positive impact on our guys. So keep up what you're doing, bud.
You said
I didn't know you had a podcast, Marlon. Why didn't you ever invite me? Huh? No, I'm just kidding. Just go ahead, Josh.
You said the Altoona. You said this was the Altoona Curve Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez, that brings back some memories for me.
I remember that. Yeah, we had a really good experience up there. We played in a couple of times at Lewistown, and we won it in 2000. Was that 2009, Josh?
Yep, 2009.
Did we win it that year that you were there?
I was there, 2009. Yep.
And so I believe we beat Hollidaysburg in the finals that year, and it was definitely one of the experiences that I will certainly cherish for a long time. That was a really solid group of kids. And I really enjoyed coaching them. And that happened to be a time where we were kind of struggling a little bit before that. And we really came together nicely. And that sort of turned around our season a little bit.
It was. You talk about adversity. We actually fell behind in the finals pretty early. And we had to work our way back.
5-0.
Oh, well, we made it work.
We did.
I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Then I will let you in peace. Last week, we lost a great coach and a great guy, Nick Imperoli of Mount Union. Did you know him at all? And what were your thoughts on Nick?
Oh, Nick was an all-time classic. Funny story. When I was a player, it was a summer league. It was a summer game. It was a tournament in Spangler, and Mount Union was there, and I pitched, and we happened to win that game 3-2. Now, I didn't know Nick from Adam at that time. I was 16 years old.
Right.
And so, fast forward to 1997, 1998, Mike Culver and I are coaching senior Babe Ruth in Mifflin County, and we have a game at Mount Union, and Nick is coaching. And he looked over, he goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "Hoppel." He goes, "I remember you." He says, "You pitched against us in Spangler." And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. How does he know that? And so, but what happened was over the years, then, there would be times in districts where, they might play a Penns Valley or a Bald Eagle, or we would play a Central or a Tyrone, and we would exchange information. And so I got to know him pretty well during that time. And I will tell you that, he was not a fan of one Dave Hohenstein of Central, because he the one time when we were getting ready to play Central, I didn't have to call him. He called me and said, "Here's the way you need to do it with these guys." And you knew the information was going to be good. But
oh yeah,
I hadn't talked to Nick probably in, I'll bet you, close to 10 years. I knew he was still volunteering with Tim up at Mount Union. I did know that.
Yeah.
I think he kind of did the home games. I don't think he traveled. But I mean, he's one of those guys that, in 100 years, they're still going to be talking about him. I mean, he's a true legend. And I mean, the Mount Union community lost an absolute, just a stalwart of a person and a coach last week.
That's the whole thing, I think. Despite, it's impressive. 767 wins, 17 district titles, 3 state titles. Yeah, impressive. But he was a hell of a human being.
He was. And there were, I don't think people understand too, it's not like, Mount Union's one of those places that's just like booming with money, and they have all the, and all of these, there's a lot of kids that came through his program that he was their father. He really was.
Yeah.
And I mean, they needed him. And he may have needed them for baseball, but they needed him too. And he was a second dad to probably thousands of boys over the years.
Yeah, but I don't have to tell you this, Ray. No ego at all.
No. I was, he was, if it was just you and him together, there would be some creative language sometimes.
Yes. Sailors talk.
Yes. But he was really a remarkable person for that town. And, honestly, if it's up, if they're thinking of it, he's the kind of guy you build statues for.
Yes.
Because he was everything to that baseball program, and he was a lot to that community. I mean, he's really going to be missed.
And the thing is, I remember, I don't know why. I guess because, people will say, "Oh, well, he looks mean." Maybe he is mean or whatever. But I remember when Franco, my first year at the Sentinel, and he said, "I want you to go cover Mount Union baseball." But I said, "Be careful, because Nick can get really pissy if he loses." I'm like, "Well, that's okay. That's everybody."
Mm-hmm.
And I went up expecting the worst. And honestly, in all my years of doing this, and it's been 33, he was one of my favorites. We never had an argument. We never had, hell, half the time he asked me to set the dugout with him while I'm covering the game.
Yeah, the article said it all. I mean, really, that article that was written was fantastic, and I think that
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that was certainly a very touching and a very moving tribute to him, and you can tell how much you cared about him whenever you wrote it.
Yeah, we weren't it was professional.
Yes,
but we were friends. We were close. And I'll tell you a story offline sometime about Nick, Ray.
I can only imagine.
The sailor talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask a question,
No.
Carson?
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you brought it up, talk about being an influence on a lot of people's lives, which Nick was, and I didn't get to cover him many times, but he was always good to me. And it's and Kenny and Carson know I'm going with this. It's no secret how much of an influence Coach Hoppel has been for me.
Oh, you trying to butter his bread, Josh?
No, it's kind of leading into my
He's
question.
not going to send you a residual check.
You don't need to, but
Look, I got to say this.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you a second.
no, you're
In
good.
all seriousness, and I mean this, Ray. I've known Ray a long time, and he's one of my all-time favorites too.
I appreciate that.
Always talking, never, even when bad things would happen, always positive and great to interview.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and you also didn't have any kids in our program, so maybe if you had a kid in our program, maybe you wouldn't feel that way. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you know that there's always going to be certain parents that's going, I should be.
Our parents have been wonderful. Honestly,
I should be the manager.
If it's one of those things where there's always going to be hiccups, and that comes with the territory. But honestly, our parents have been really good. I mean, yeah, there might be things said behind the scenes and that kind of thing, but I've gotten to this point in my career where I can kind of push that aside. I mean, I understand everybody's competitive, but really, it's been really, really fun. It really has been, and if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it.
Thanks, Marlon. I appreciate the comment.
Yeah, and where I was what I was going to ask you, like you, Coach, it's like I saw a video you guys posted on the Facebook page, and you talk about seeing all the kids putting up with them as little pictures of where they are now as seniors.
Mm-hmm.
As someone that's coached for a long time, seeing all these kids coming out, and just this past summer, I've always been curious. One of them just happens to share the same last name as you. He's now being a senior. From all those years of coaching to from when I was there to now Mifflin County, the idea of just seeing where these kids have come from and now they're moving on, what does that mean for you?
Well, it's always been, to me, it's always been more than about baseball, and anybody that's ever coached with me or plays for me knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And this group of kids, the seniors this year, and it is a little different than anything that I've experienced before, because even in the Lewistown days, yes, I knew the kids, but I didn't have them from the time they were 6 years old until now. But I mean, this is a very special group, and my son will always be, my all-time favorite Husky, and it's always bittersweet to have that, to see that person graduate, to see your son graduate. But the one thing about him, and I can speak of the other 6 seniors as well besides him, what makes me the most proud is that they are, for as good of baseball players as they are, they're better people. And some of them have had a few hiccups along the way, but that's a part of growing up. And so, I will always stand by their side no matter what, just like I will with any of my players at any other time. When they're on my team, you're my son for life. And that extends to you, Josh. And I've told you that before. Yeah. And you keep bringing me peanut butter eggs, and you'll keep moving up that list.
There you go. Yeah, you were talking about the old days, CPL and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you know who flashed in my mind?
Who's
the
that?
man-child John Condo.
Phillipsburg was loaded that
Wasn't
year.
he amazing?
Oh my gosh! Well, funny story about Phillipsburg, and then my computer's probably going to die. But in 1999, we won the district semifinal up at Phillipsburg when they had that loaded team, of which Condo was on that team. There was John Condo. There was the Barniak kid that pitched at Pitt. There was a Hoover kid that went to Kent. They had like Division I guys all over the place, and they had 499 wins in their program's history, and they had this big tent set up in left field that were going to celebrate their 500th win after that game. And why shouldn't they? Because they 10-runned us twice during the regular season. We actually had to pitch Dan Kokendorfer in one of those games because we were so good at pitching. So, and Dan and I were just talking about that the other day. But we went up there with Jerry Fulton on the mound, who was actually still recovering from an arm injury that he had suffered earlier in the year. And he went up there and we talked. I remember talking.
Oh, we got cut off. He lost his power, but Condo was amazing. You remember him, Kenny?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I remember that year, 99, he was all-state in football. I covered him when he came down here in baseball. He was the catcher against Mike Culver's Panthers, and he hit 2 home runs. He was all-state in baseball. Then he won a damn state championship in wrestling.
Yeah.
And goes on to play for the Dallas Cowboys.
What year was that?
Yeah. He was smart. He was smart. He was a big kid, but not big enough for the NFL. So he taught himself how to long snap. And he played for the Cowboys.
Yep. And didn't he play for the Raiders then later on?
Yeah. Wait, we got him back.
I'll finish up that story real quick. But no, they had a tent set up for a 500th win, and we went up there and beat them in extra innings, and we won a district title that year. It was the first one I think Lewistown had won in 25 years, and but I remember John Condo being on that team. They were an absolutely stacked team at Phillipsburg, and like you said, he went on to play in the NFL for about a dozen years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he was all-state baseball, football, state champion in wrestling.
Yeah, he was a stud.
He was a brute.
He was.
But hey, Ray, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Good luck up in Altoona tomorrow and for the rest of the season. Thank you, buddy.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and Josh, it's always good seeing you as well. So, like I said, hopefully we'll see you guys down the road, and I appreciate the good luck wishes for tomorrow.
All right, see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Ray
Hoppel,
take care. Mifflin County baseball coach stopping by, and Marlon, yeah, man. How about it, Kenny?
Oh yeah,
we'll come on your podcast, bud. I didn't know you had one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something. Love to do it.
Marlon knows his stuff, man.
Yes, he does.
So Kennard.
Yes.
Any shout outs, my friend?
Believe it or not, I do.
Hold on. We got to do the music, bud.
Oh, yeah. I love this music. I've missed it. I'm ready.
Yep. For the young kids who hopefully are in bed, this is Kenny's porno music. Feeding the ducks. All right, Kenny Borner. You're up, buddy. Give us your shout outs.
Okay, I have one that's right hot off the presses. You heard it here first. Ryder Hamilton from Bellefonte Boys Lacrosse Team scored his 200th goal tonight in their win against Danville. It's a season sweep against them. I think that's maybe the first time in team history that the Red Raiders swept a team like Danville. So congratulations to Ryder. And Bellefonte won tonight, of course, 14-7. So
so what, Ryder? I have 300 goals. Come on. No, I'm just kidding, Ryder. Congratulations.
Congrats, man.
Yeah. This one is from East Juniata Track and Field, which was Monday. East Juniata was led by Addison Feltman. All know her dad, Tom.
Yes.
She
Yep.
finished with wins in the 100-meter hurdles and 300-meter hurdles. Her teammate, Natalie Hoffman, finished her afternoon sporting wins in the 100-meter dash and 200-meter dash. So congratulations, you two. Probably be hearing the names quite a bit here in the near future. At the same meet, Sylvia Brubaker. She was on fire. She captured 4 victories on the night.
Who is
And
Sylvia Brubaker?
I don't know. I think we'll have to have
Jeff
Mr.
Miller on.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, she's a glutton for punishment. She got first in the 1,600-meter run, the 400-meter run, the 800-meter run, and then finally in the grueling 3,200-meter run.
Is that all?
So, yeah, I just got tired reading that off, so I'm sure.
Wait, what is that? 2, 3, 3.5? Isn't that like almost 4 miles
I think so.
of running?
Mm-hmm. And in a pact of what, 2 hours, 3 hours time?
That's nuts.
Mm-hmm. So, but back, we'll go to the softball and shout out to Bald Eagles softball pitcher Sierra Albright, who broke the Center County career strikeout record, posting her 793rd, putting her over Laura Caldwell of Belfont, who had 792. So great job. And Sierra still has another half season to go. So she might actually, I believe at press time here, she had over 800. So she's looking to have at least 1,000 before the year's out. So quite a great accomplishment for her.
Yes.
Shout out to her teammate, Sydney Thompson, collected her 100th career hit. She's always been a solid leader offensively. Even defensively, she's helped her team. This year, they're off to a really good start. I think they've only lost 3 games so far this season. I think they're like 8-3, 9-3. They've been able to get a few more games in than some of the local teams in Mifflin County. And then here's a familiar name. Shout out to Bowling Green phenom Kylie Covison. Set 4 school records this season and is up for Bowling Green Sports Player of the Year. So
Cool.
Congratulations, Kylie.
Good for her.
Yeah. So that concludes my shout outs for today. I also want to wish a local guy the best of luck. I talked to him today, Jaden Wise. I don't know if you remember him, Brian. He wrestled in 9th grade for Mifflin County. His dad's Noah.
Yeah.
He is going to be making his MMA debut this Saturday in Pittsburgh called the Battle of the Berg.
Wow.
So good luck to Jaden as he takes that first step into hopefully his a long and prestigious career. And he actually might be a future guest. I told him about our podcast, and he was really excited to possibly come on. So might be having him on in the near future as well. So
what's the event called?
MMA, Mixed Martial Arts.
No, I know that, but I meant the event.
Oh, Battle of the Berg.
Battle of the Bergs. Okay, thank you. I'll have to look that up.
And I will actually be posting an interview with him that I did today, and it'll have you can watch it this weekend if you can't make the trip out. He has a couple different ways of watching him. So, like I said, just stay tuned for the interview to come out, and I'll have all that information on there.
Cool. I have a shout out.
Oh, cool.
pre-seeds came out for the U.S. Open Freestyle Wrestling. Trent Hidley, you know that name,
Very well.
at 92 kilograms is the #1 seed at the U.S. Open. And I'm going to cover that for you, Kenny.
Awesome.
It's
Can't
on,
wait.
it's on Flow. I've already got a hold of Trent. He's going to let me interview him, and we will have a story all 3 days of the Open, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of Trent. And good luck out there, Hoagie.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
Yes,
we
best of
hope
luck.
we hope you bring home the championship, because man, that'd be something to win the U.S. Open.
Yes, it definitely would. On a side note, how great was it to have him on ESPN?
Oh,
during
you know
Keller?
what? I was pissed off
Why's that?
because he's way better than I am. He's gonna take my freaking job at Big Louie. It's like, Trent, keep wrestling and shut up. No, I mean, that's like everybody that loves sports in Mifflin County. I was very proud of him.
Mhm.
He represented us so well, and he really did do a great job announcing.
Yes.
Hmm.
You know why? He's lived it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
2-time runner-up, 3rd place finisher, 5-time All-American. He's lived it. You know, fat sports writers like us, we just love it.
Yeah.
We haven't lived it. And you know he's always been very well spoken.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But he did a great job with Shane Sparks.
Yeah, I hope
Great
that
job.
more many to come, I hope.
Yep, me too. But he is going to take my job. Because if I go to Jeff Stevens, my buddy, and go, who would you rather have on the mic, me or Trent Hindley? I wonder what he's going to say. Well, Brian, it's been nice. Thank you for your time. Now you go home and take your fake leg with you. That's what he'll say to me. I love you though, Jeff. I do. Even though you're going to give my job to Trent. It'll be really cool.
What's that?
To broadcast with him.
Oh yeah,
I think him and I'd be pretty good.
that'd be a good 1-2 punch right there.
Yeah. I think so.
Have you be the play-by-play and he be the color?
Yeah. What better guy for Keller? 5-time All-American.
2 finals in 2 different weight classes.
Yep.
And we can brag about them being our first interview on our first
That was
podcast.
our first podcast.
Yeah.
Hayden and Trent were nice enough to come on. It blew up. We had so many listeners. It was sickening.
It was awesome.
I remember that.
Yeah. I think that was the my God, Hayden was still at North Dakota State. He wasn't at Stanford yet.
Yeah, because didn't he just become an assistant coach?
At Stanford.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice weather, man. He's in Palo Alto, living it up. He's married, though. Be better if you're single. Go on the beach and, now Hayden goes to the beach and he has to look with one eye. Oh, my God, Kenny.
Don't
She's
wear
gonna kill.
sunglasses.
She's gonna kill me. I forgot his wife name. She played basketball for the Huskies.
Oh,
Oh my lord!
What year she graduated? Same year as Hayden?
I am so sorry. Hey, if anybody in the family is listening, tell her I'm so sorry. She was so sweet to interview because she was a little shy.
was that Brianna Bodorf?
No, I can see her face right now.
Oh.
I can see it. Just don't remember her name. Because you know us, Kenny. We've seen so many kids come through.
Exactly. Yeah. And I hate that the most, especially when you see some of them and you know you've seen them before and they're smiling and they talk to
Yeah,
you
and you don't,
and you're
and you
just
don't,
like, hi, and you're like,
you don't remember, and you just go, "Hey, how's it going? Oh my God, how you been?" And then you go, "What the hell is their name?"
and you try to talk when they try to start a conversation. You try to figure out. You kind of lead around the conversation and try to figure out, where you know them from, and sometimes it just doesn't
Yeah,
go well.
what I hate the most is I'm such a wrestling fan, and I hate it when I forget wrestlers
Mm.
because they will. And they'll come up, and I'll go, "Oh my God,
Mm.
what's his name?"
Well, you guys have done
Jesus.
it for a long time.
Yeah, but Bob Howard could go, "Well, yeah, you won a district title in 1957. Your habit was going to the bathroom 5 times before your match.
Mm.
He knows everything about you."
Yeah, him and Ray Wild both.
Ray, oh my God, Ray's got his, he's got his Bible.
Carson. Her name's Emily.
Emily,
It just says Emily.
is it Wilson? Kenny?
I didn't even remember what I covered here yesterday. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull this one off.
I think it's Emily Wilson, and she was a guard for the Huskies.
Yeah, her name's Emily.
Codish, if you're listening, who was it? Because I think he was coaching them then. Emily, I think it's Wilson. Sweet kid. Sweet kid. Now I watch Hayden will text me and go, "You don't know her, man. You think she's sweet. She's always on my ass." But just kidding, Emily. Thank you, Josh, for getting her name for us.
No problem, bud.
We did have a little bit of sad news here in the world of sports. You hear about Mongo McMichael?
No, did he die?
He passed away today. He was put in hospice, I think at like 4 o'clock today. They took out his breathing tube and passed away at 5:39. So
That's such a terrible disease. Lou Gehrig's. Sorry to hear that, Mongo. Great football player.
Yeah.
Great football player.
Definitely. And a good professional wrestler too.
I was going to say that.
Horseman.
I was going to say that, but
except on the mic, he was terrible on the mic. Terrible on the mic. Okay, we'll end it with that. What did you think of WrestleMania, guys?
I thought it sucked. It was the worst one that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
I was telling Josh, I don't watch it much. I had no idea what this yeet shit is. And it was pissing me off. Yeet. It's like, what is he having like does he have Tourette syndrome or what? And I don't know.
What is it about?
The only match I thought was good was the three-way with Rollins, Reigns, and Punk.
Oh, yes, that was definitely. I'll give
Because,
that
like,
one the best one.
yeah, they know how to do it.
Hmm.
And Paul Heyman, brilliant. Paul Heyman is brilliant. It's
Well,
only
he's
two.
now building a stable. He's got Rollins. Now he's got Braun Breaker.
Yeah, only two got managers better than him. That's it.
Well,
All
Heenan
time.
was one Heenan.
Bobby Heenan,
Oh yeah, Heaton definitely.
and the best guy ever on the mic, Jim Cornette.
Oh, Cornette.
Oh yeah.
My mom loved to hate that son of a bitch.
You listen to his podcast?
Yeah, she was this passive lady, and when Cornette come on, the swear words that would come out of her mouth were just amazing. That son of a bitch. I hate you, Cornette. Oh my God. Well, don't think we'll have Braden Davis on Penn State this coming season.
Wait, what happened?
Marlon
Yeah.
just told me Braden was arrested for resisting arrest and drunkenness. Congratulations, Braden.
Now he wasn't one of their big guys, right? He was a backup.
He's an All-American.
Oh wow.
5th in the country this year.
Hmm.
And he might not have his job anyway. Because Masanosuke Ono is coming in from Japan at 33, and at 41 is Marcus Blaze, top high school wrestler in the country. My mic's going screwy. I'm losing the volume on it. But any final words, guys?
Just that it's great to be back on the podcast again. It was fun having Ray. Very like you said, he's a great guy. Always personable. Never seen him mad, even when you're interviewing him after a loss. Great to talk to. It's just been a fun evening. I always like sitting there listening, even though podcast you're supposed to ask questions, but I sit back here sometimes and just like to listen to people, the guests talk, and it's been fun as always.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you healthy, Carson. I hope and pray for you and your family that you continue to get better. And
Thank
Kenny,
you.
it's always good to see you too, Kenny. And also, as always, it's always good to talk with Coach Hoppel. And I just appreciate everybody. Appreciate being on the show, and I appreciate everybody that's watching.
Thank you for doing everything you do for me. I really appreciate it. You've done some real kick butt interviews lately, and I appreciate you. And thank you. I don't know if I say it enough, but really appreciate all you do for the community and for hometown.
And speaking of community and baseball, I'm actually going to be doing. I'll be back down in McVaytown to do a Cal Ripken game for you, Kenny.
Awesome.
And Marlon, before we go, Kenny gets $25 a podcast, and I get 175. Just so you know. But yeah, let us know. How about it, Kenny? We'll come on and talk sports.
Oh, awesome. Definitely. Love to do it.
I didn't know you had one. So
no, I know he had. I watch his blogs, and he's got a lot of good stuff there. So they got to be on his podcast. Would be awesome.
Yeah, he'll have to come on ours.
Yeah.
We'll get you on the press box here. All right, sounds good. thank you, everybody, for listening. We will be back next Wednesday. Knock on wood, I hope. We'll be back next Wednesday with another edition of the Press Box. Oh, and I didn't get a chance tonight. I got to show you. Kenny and I got a website going.
Yeah.
It's almost done. It looks pretty damn good, if I do say so. How about it, Kenny?
Does. It does. Yep. You got people out there will be very, very pleased.
There's going to be articles, podcasts, live streaming games. That's if I can get my fake leg to disconnect and come out. But we're going to try, and it looks pretty good. We'll show it to you next week as more of it gets finished.
Yep.
All right, it's going to do it for the Press Box for Kenny Warner and Josh Yoder. I'm Brian Carson. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you later. Take care and have a great rest of your week.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night. Takes me forever to click the button to end it.